Hebrew Bible verse of the day, Genesis 1:1.
All right, let's see it.
Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim va'et haaretz. In Hebrew, the prepositions are affixed to the beginning of the word. So, ba means in, Bereshit in the beginning, coming from the Hebrew word rosh, meaning head or beginning.
Bereshit does not mean in the beginning, it means in the beginning of something because it is in the construct state. There are exactly 5 other occurrences of this exact construction. The bait preposition attached to the feminine singular construct form reshit, and every single occurrence is universally agreed to be in the construct and to be part of a temporal clause. Even the medieval French grammarian Rashi said that this is in the construct. It means in the beginning of something. If the authors wanted to say in the beginning in the absolute state, they would have used the absolute state. It would say parishona, with the bait preposition, the definite article, and then the feminine singular absolute form, rishona, and that exact construction occurs about 20 other times in the Hebrew Bible. So Rashi continues, you've got to translate this as if bara that follows is not a finite verb, but an infinitive verb, baro. Now Rashi uses a plain A full spelling that adds a vav here, and we don't have that in the consonantal text of Genesis 1, but we don't need it, because you can have baro without the vav. You have that in Genesis 5:1, which is another temporal clause talking about the creation of the earth. And so we would just have to repoint the text, and because the vocalization of the text comes from the medieval period anyway, that's not really doing any damage to what the authors originally wrote. However, there are other scholars who argue that you can have a finite verb. It just has to be an unmarked relative clause. And here's a paper that discusses the grammar of that. So in the end, Genesis 1:1 is widely agreed these days not to say in the beginning, but in the beginning of God creating the heavens and the earth, or more idiomatically in English, when God began to create the heavens and the earth. And then the verses that follow describe the state of affairs when the creative act actually began.
Bara means to create, and that's a word that's used only of God. Man can asa, make, or bana, build, but only God can bara, create out of nothing.
There are absolutely no data whatsoever that support the notion that bara refers specifically to creation out of nothing, and if you look at other occurrences of the verbal root bara, you will see they are referring to things that are definitely not creation out of nothing. The doctrine of creation out of nothing is agreed by scholars to have been developed in the late 2nd century CE within Christianity in debate with Gnostics and other Greek thinkers about the morality of eternal matter and the rationality of the resurrection.
Now, Elohim is a plural noun. I'm not going to go into it in this video for time's sake, but this is evident that God is a plurality in unity.
This is evidence of absolutely no such thing whatsoever, and there are absolutely no data whatsoever that support this blithe retrojection of the Trinity into a time period when no such concept existed whatsoever. The grammatically plural word Elohim can mean plural gods or singular God, and it is used repeatedly throughout the Hebrew Bible to refer to single deities other than the God of Israel, such as Astarte and Baal and Asherah and Milcom and Chemosh and many others, because it's just the generic Hebrew word for God, and it can be used in the plural or in the singular. And if you'd like the best discussion of how this is, Joel Burnett's book, A Reassessment of Biblical Elohim, makes the best case, which is basically that this is a concretized abstract plural, and you can look at my video number McClellan 1829 for a little more detail.
The Hebrew word et denotes a definite direct object. In this case, hashamayim, the heavens, and haaretz, the earth. Shamayim, heavens, is always plural. There's 3 of these. The first heaven is the sky, the atmosphere. The second heaven is the universe, and the third heaven is a spiritual realm where God dwells.
Shemaim has long been agreed by grammarians to be a plural of extension. It has nothing to do with describing multiple heavens. That is reading a much later cosmology back in to this mid-first millennium BCE text. It also directly contradicts the account within Genesis 1 that describes the heavens, the skies, the Shemaim, entirely and exclusively as the solid dome that was created to separate the waters below from the waters above that are suspended above by the Shemaim.
And Haaretz, the earth, was created by God.
According to Genesis 1, the earth already existed when God began their creative act. It was in a state of what the Hebrew calls tohu vavohu, or mire and murk, and it was submerged under the chaotic waters of creation. But it already existed. The act of creation was to put it into a new state where it had form and function that aligns with how we understand the earth today.
If you'd like to learn Hebrew from me, you can click the link in the description.
No, I'm good.